we can go back several thousand years and look at technology that has replaced human work, right? So in 1500 BC, ancient Mesopotamia, they came up with this concept called the aqueduct, right, which would bring water. And it really became impactful in Rome when they developed the arch. And then they could go about 3 kilometers and bring water. So if you've seen the images of Roman women with buckets on their heads carrying the water, the aqueduct sort of had them go into different jobs, right? And fast forward a little bit to the 1st century AD in China. This guy named Yun Li developed this new technology called paper, right? And at the time, everything was written on papyrus, and the papyrus industry was heavily unionized and close with the emperor, and so the emperor decreed that this new technology, paper, was not to be used for any government or religious texts. And obviously, we don't think of paper as a technology today. But fast forward to the 1400s, the printing press and the mass production of the Bible. Again, sort of displaced the monks who would hand scribe the Bibles. And again, the church came out and said that, these new mass printed Bibles were not to be used for religious ceremonies, but it really helped spread the word of Christianity throughout the world, being able to do this quickly. Then going forward another 300 years or so, the power loom, and people heard the term Luddite. That comes from this mythical character named Ned Ludd, and he was a spinner in the late 18th century, and his factory went out and purchased one of these new power looms, right? This automated spinner, and he showed up to work one day, saw he was replaced, and smashed the machine. It's not sure that he really existed. This is legend, but in 1820. The power loom started to really replace spinners and throughout England in the Industrial Revolution. And so what was fascinating is, so the spinners basically went out of business and were replaced, but the weavers, if they could keep up with the pace of the new machine, were like rock star employees, free food, housing, like Google employees. The spinners in Birmingham and Manchester formed this group called the Luddites, which then went and started smashing machines. And they basically kept list of factories that were replacing workers. And so, we have this historical precedence of technology and worker displacement. And so, one last interesting one is the ATM. 1967 was the introduction of the first cash machine. And yet today there are more bank tellers than there were in 1967, despite the prevalence of ATMs. And so it's not all bad news. But the question now with AI and a lot of what we'll discuss here is this time different, right? And so I have a little thought exercise for you that it might be interesting. So I'm going to count to 3, and I want all of you to kind of yell out the business you're in, right? And you can't all say knowledge management, right? So talk about either what your company does, what you do, but just something, and just yell out something specific that you do. Okay, so you ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay. Now, how many of you use a computer or technology at work? I should maybe ask that, who doesn't, right? So what's interesting, okay, so everyone uses technology, but we all do different work. So as we see the increase in the capabilities of AI and machine learning, robotics, automation, my theory is that, if you look at any given technology, the car replacing the horse or the ATM replacing the bank teller, there's other places they can go, other industries. But now with technology, everybody's using technology regardless of industry. Every company is a tech company now. And so as we see the increase in these technologies, what does that do to the workplace of the future? And I'll leave that as an open question.
Yeah.